Hi friends, hello. This is Kiran Anishetty, Faculty for Polity, Political Science, Public Administration and Issues in Governance. Friends, welcome to Crack UPSC CSC with India's largest online learning platform, that is Unacademy. Friends, today we are going to discuss salient features of Indian Constitution. Most of the aspirants, they tend to overlook this particular chapter, but this particular chapter forms the basis of our study of Indian Constitution and Constitution of any other country, because this particular topic provides basic insights into any political system. What you will get from an academy online platform: daily live classes, live tests and quizzes, structured courses, and unlimited access to videos on UPSC civils and mains. Prepare with top educators of Unacademy such as Mrunal Patel, Roman Saini, Ayush Tangi, etc. In Unacademy, you will get the courses for both prelims as well as mains, such as polity, history, geography, current affairs, governance, ethics, etc. Unacademy gives you tremendous opportunity to have access to quality UPSC coaching from the comfort of your home. For 12 months subscription, you need to pay only 44,000, and if you use my promo code, that is capital KIRAN, you will get 10% discount. Then if you go for 24 months subscription, it will be all the more good. Just for 64,000, you will get 24 months subscription, and on that also you will get 10% discount if you use my promo code capital KIRAN. One of the salient features of our constitution is our constitution is lengthiest written constitution. First of all, friends, we will discuss what do we mean to say written constitution. Often we tend to make mistake. Written constitution means we think that there will not be any role of political conventions on one hand, and on the other hand, unwritten constitution means we think that there will not be any piece of written paper. There will not be any piece of paper that is written. No. For instance, if you take English constitution, British constitution, that is unwritten constitution, but it has the textbook written by A.V. Dicey, the British legal expert, as part and parcel of British constitution. And at the same time, written constitutions such as US constitution, in Indian constitution, we have political conventions to play major role. Then what is written constitution? Written constitution means the principles that govern the distribution of powers and functions between various organs of the state and various tiers of the state are clearly codified. Once again, I repeat, friends, written constitution means the principles that govern the distribution of powers and functions amongst the various organs of the state and various tiers of the state are clearly codified. That is written constitution. That means what are the powers and functions of executive organ of the state? What are the powers and functions of legislative organ of the state? What are the powers and functions of judicial organ of the state? And what are the powers and functions of central government? What are the powers and functions of state government are clearly written. That is written constitution. These principles in unwritten constitution are governed by political conventions. For instance, if we take our constitution, which is written constitution, Article 74 clearly says there shall be Council of Ministers headed by Prime Minister to aid and advise the President, who shall act in accordance with such advice. Who shall act in accordance with such advice. So it is clearly written. The President, who is nominal executive, will be acting on the advice given by Council of Ministers headed by Prime Minister. Same principle is enshrined in British Constitution. The King or Queen will act according to the advice of Council of Ministers headed by Prime Minister. But it is not written. It is not written. It is governed by political convention. What do you mean to say political convention? Friends, political convention is like religious convention, religious practice, or religious tradition, or religious custom. For instance, on Shivaratri day, we may observe vegetarianism, we may observe waking up in the night, etc. They are religious customs, religious convention. In the same way, political convention means political custom or political practices which have been in existence from the past, from the time immemorial. That is political convention. So these principles are governed in unwritten constitution by political convention. Another example, Article 75 clearly says the Prime Minister will be appointed by the President and the other members of Council of Ministers will be appointed by the President on the advice of the Prime Minister. Same instance is there in British Constitution. The King or Queen will elect the leader of majority party in lower house as Prime Minister. But it is not written in Constitution. It is governed by political convention. This is the difference between written constitution and unwritten constitution. Now we will discuss why our constitution is lengthiest constitution. One of the reasons is the presence of legal luminaries, the presence of legal experts such as Baba Saheb Ambedkar, Sir Alladi Krishna Swami Iyer, Jawaharlal Nehru, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, etc. Then the vast geographical area and cultural diversity in our country, because of which we ought to imbibe many provisions to provide and to address the interests of these people from various cultural background. And apart from this, our constitution contains detailed administrative provisions, the configuration and functions of election commission, the organization and functions of Union Public Service Commission, the organization and functions of State Public Service Commission, the organization and functions of Joint Public Service Commission, the institutions of All India Services, how they can be created, how members of All India Services and Central Services are going to be appointed, how they can be removed, what are the constitutional guarantees that are available for them under Article 311. All these provisions are clearly mentioned in the Constitution. This is why Baba Saheb Ambedkar says, unless and until detailed administrative provisions are provided in the Constitution, the Constitution itself may be perverted. Hence, our Constitution makers ensure inclusion of detailed administrative provisions in Indian Constitution. And our Constitution is drawn from Government of India 1935 Act, that in itself is very bulky. That in itself is very bulky. Another important feature of our Constitution is our Constitution is drawn from various sources. First, we will discuss what we adopted from British Constitution. From British Constitution, we adopted parliamentary form of government. We adopted from parliamentary form of government the legislative procedures in the parliament, rule of law, bicameralism. Bicameralism means existence of two houses, upper house and lower house. Upper house protects the interest of states. It provides membership for people with experience and expertise knowledge. Then what is rule of law? What is rule of law? Rule of law means absence of arbitrary punishment, whether it is bodily punishment or punishment in terms of confiscating property or material objects. In olden days, during monarchic rule, during feudal rule, people used to be punished without any valid reason, and they used to be punished in inhuman way, such as people used to be sent to guillotines, gallows. Their heads used to be beheaded. They used to be burnt alive. Sometimes the women used to be forcefully married by kings or by feudal lords by killing their husbands. Women used to be forced to, what do you say, live as sexual slaves to the despotic king or feudal lord. There are some instances where the monarch, despotic kings used to have sexual intercourse with 2,000 or 3,000 women. All such kind of inhuman atrocities used to be perpetrated on people during monarchic rule or the feudal rule. During feudal rule, we observed in India itself the institutions of slavery, the institutions of forced labor, the way people used to be molested, raped, the way people used to be killed. All such kind of arbitrary punishments used to be heaped upon innocent people. This is the first and foremost meaning of rule of law, that it means absence of arbitrary punishment. Absence of arbitrary punishment. That means no individual will be punished except for the breach of the law of the land and except in the procedure mentioned in the law. For instance, Kasab, he was caught red-handed. Just because he was caught red-handed and he was convicted of killing hundreds of innocent people, he was not forced to, what do you say, he was not burnt alive. A due process of law was executed, and according to the punishment that has been prescribed in the law, and according to the procedure that has been prescribed in the law, he was punished. So that is absence of arbitrary punishment. Then, second principle of rule of law is equal subjugation to law of the land. Equal subjugation to law of the land. That means all the people in country will be subjected to, or all the people in the country equal in front of the law, irrespective of their socio-economic status. In olden days, the kings, people who belong to nobility, the feudal lords, used to be in privileged section of the society. They were never subjected to any the laws which govern the ordinary people. The laws which used to be applicable to normal people, from them, the people from nobility, the kings, the feudal lords used to have protection. But according to rule of law, all people in the country, irrespective of their socio-economic status, will be subjected equally to the law of the land. The third important aspect of rule of law is equal treatment of equals in equal circumstances. Equal treatment of equals in equal circumstances. That means all people who are placed in equal circumstances, they will be treated equally. For instance, scheduled caste people, they were subjected to inhuman atrocities in the past. In the same way, in scheduled tribe. So they were placed in equal circumstances. Hence, all of them are treated equally. That is positive discrimination. That is positive discrimination. These three aspects constitute the concept of rule of law. And this concept of rule of law is drawn from A.V. Dicey's textbook, The Introduction to Law of the Constitution. Introduction to Law of the Constitution. Then from US Constitution, we adopted the concept of fundamental rights, the concept of judicial review, impeachment of constitutional functionaries such as judges of Supreme Court, High Court, the President, etc. Then the post of Vice President and independent judiciary. First of all, friends, what do you mean to say fundamental rights? What do you mean to say fundamental rights? Often we may say fundamental rights, they mean the rights which are basic to the existence of any human being. Then the question arises, do people or do citizens in England have fundamental rights? Do British people have fundamental rights? No, they do not have fundamental rights. Then does it mean don't they have the rights which are basic to the existence of any human being? They do have. They have rights as long as they do not violate the law of the land. They have rights against the arbitrary action of the executive. That means tomorrow the British Council of Ministers headed by British Prime Minister passes any executive order. For instance, whoever does not wear helmet, his head will be chopped off. Then they will have protection. They can approach the court of the law in England, and they can have protection from this draconian executive order. But if the same order were to be legislated by British Parliament, that whoever does not wear helmet, his head will be chopped off, then they will not have any protection from the law made by British Parliament. So it means British people have protection from arbitrary action of the executive, not from the arbitrary action of the legislature. That's why the famous British political thinker J.S. Mill says, British Parliament can do anything on the world, anything on the earth, except making a man woman. Then what do you mean to say fundamental right? Friends, democracy can be philosophically divided into two. Of course, we may have formal division of democracy, that is parliamentary form of government, presidential form of government, then direct democracy, indirect democracy, federal government, federal democracy, unitary democracy, etc. But philosophically, the democracy basically can be divided into two. The one which is inspired by the political ideology of Aristotle, and the other is the other is inspired by political ideology of US political thinkers such as George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, Alexander Hamilton, Justice John Marshall, James Madison, etc. So what is this political philosophy? What are these democracies which are inspired by political philosophy of Aristotle? Aristotle believes that amongst the three organs of the state, legislature, executive, and judiciary, the legislature should be given supreme powers because legislature consists of elected representatives of people. According to Aristotle's political conception, people, while electing their representatives, they will examine the political wisdom of their representatives. They will examine their character, their wisdom, political prudence. Then only they will vote and they will elect only that person who has this political wisdom and political prudence. Hence, the elected legislature will be, what you say, impeccable without any defect, infallible, because the members of legislature are with good political wisdom and political prudence. As people, while electing their representatives, they will examine these aspects. This is the conception of Aristotle. That's why, if you observe, my friends, the democracies in Western Europe, most of the democracies, England, France, Switzerland, they do not have the concept of judicial review. That means the laws made by their respective parliaments are not subjected to any judicial scrutiny. Why? It is believed that the duly elected legislature will be infallible, defectless. Paradoxically, you may wonder, even if you take Swiss constitution, which is characterized by quintessential federation, quintessential federation. Though it has quintessential federal system, it doesn't have judicial review. It is wonder on what you say. It is wonder in democratic world. So this is political conviction of Aristotle, inspired by which most of the constitutions, most of the democracies have been configured in Western Europe. On the other hand, friends, the political thinkers in US, they will have always suspicion in elected legislature as well as in elected representatives. That's why they came up with novel political concepts such as fundamental rights, judicial review, then what you say, more powers to upper house, etc. Why? It is because the experience that they got from parliamentary form of government. Parliamentary form of government, full-fledged parliamentary form of government was formed in England in 1688 AD. That when US got independence from Britishers, The Declaration of American War of Independence, 1776. That means for 100 years or so, they were subjected to inhuman atrocities in the hands of parliamentary form of government, friends. What does it mean? It means the way any despotic monarch, the way any despotic feudal lord can perpetrate inhuman atrocities on innocent people, in the same vein, duly elected legislature can also perpetrate such kind of inhuman atrocities on people. In India also, we experienced inhuman atrocities in the hands of British Parliament. Why we say in the hands of British Parliament? Friends, if you remember, after Government of India 1858 Act, the authority to administer India had been transferred from the Crown to British Parliament. Had been transferred from Crown to British Parliament. Then what does it mean? For all the atrocities and all the persecutions which were heaped upon innocent Indians, for that British Parliament was responsible. Because Viceroy, who was in charge of Indian administration, he was under a British cabinet minister, that is, Minister of State for India, who is member of British cabinet. British cabinet, as we know, in any parliamentary form of government, the cabinet is responsible to the lower house of parliament, which is elected directly by people. Now you see what kind of inhuman atrocities were perpetrated on innocent women, innocent old children in Jallianwala Bagh massacre. It is shame. It is brought on any civilized society. Perpetrating such kind of inhuman atrocities on unarmed, old, women, children. Who is responsible for that? Parliamentary form of government. That parliamentary form of government summoned the cruel General Dyer to Britain, and that parliamentary form of government facilitated, it awarded that cruel General Dyer. The kind of inhuman atrocities that were perpetrated on innocent farmers in Champaran before Champaran Satyagraha. Women in farming communities, women in farming families used to be abducted by British authorities in order to force the farmers to cultivate indigo, even while they were reeling under massive famines. We might have seen in Bollywood pictures like Teza, where the villain abducts heroine Madhuri Dixit because heroine's father, he didn't pay the debt that is taken from that, what do you say, villain. Then we cursed that villain. Similar kind of thing was done by parliamentary form of government. You see, all these facts are grand testimony to the conviction that the way any despotic monarch, the way any despotic feudal lord can perpetrate inhuman atrocities on innocent people, in the same way, duly elected legislature can also perpetrate similar inhuman atrocities on people. Hence, we need to have protection from the arbitrary action of the executive, but also from the arbitrary action of the legislature as well. It is the greatness of US political thinkers that they convinced themselves that we need to have protection not only from the arbitrary action of the legislature, not only from the arbitrary action of the executive, but also from the arbitrary action of the legislature. The way any can have human defects, in the same way, these human defects can also be there on the part of elected representatives. Hence, we should have protection from the arbitrary action of the legislature. This is the concept behind fundamental rights. This is the concept behind judicial review. This is why we should be thankful to US political thinkers for innovation of these novel political doctrines which we adopted from US Constitution. Hence, friends, always remember, as students of polity and as aspirants of UPSC, don't answer in layman's language. What do you mean to say fundamental rights? Fundamental rights, the rights which are basic to the living of an individual. The basic concept of fundamental rights is that the individual will have protection not only from the arbitrary action of the executive, but also from the arbitrary action of the legislature. So that is the concept of fundamental rights. Then what is judicial review? Behind judicial review also, the same political philosophy is involved. Judicial review refers to the authority of the judiciary to examine the laws made by the legislature and the actions of the executive, whether they are according to the provisions of the Constitution or not. If they are not according to the provisions of the Constitution, they will be declared null and void. They will be declared as null and void. Judicial review refers to the authority of the judiciary to examine the laws made by the legislature and the actions of the executive, whether they are according to the provisions of the Constitution or not. The first and foremost objective of judicial review is to ensure supremacy of the Constitution. That means Constitution will be the fundamental law of the country. Any law made by union legislature, any law made by state legislature should be subjected to the provisions of the Constitution. If they are not according to the provisions of Constitution, they will be declared as null and void. For instance, national judicial appointments, committees, that law was passed by NDA government as soon as it came to power in 2014. But that law was squashed by Supreme Court, saying that it is against the provisions of the Constitution. That is judicial review. And in the same way, the actions of executive will also be subjected to judicial scrutiny. If the actions and decisions of the executive are not according to the provisions of the Constitution, they will be declared as null and void. Then what is independent judiciary? Independent judiciary means the judiciary will be insulated from undue influence of the legislature and executive. The judiciary will be insulated from the undue influence of executive and the legislature. Then what have we adopted from Canadian Constitution? From Canadian Constitution, we adopted the concept of federation with strong center. That means, though we adopted federal form of government, more powers and functions were given to the center. That is federation with strong center. And we also adopted the usage of the word Union of India. The Article 1 of Indian Constitution reads, India is Union of India. It never says Federation of India. The word federation never ever used in any provision of Indian Constitution. That clearly indicates that our federation is federation with strong center. Then residuary powers with the center. What do you mean to say residuary powers with the center? There are three lists according to 7th schedule. Center list, state list and concurrent list. Center list is that list in which the subjects on which the parliament can legislate. State list is that list in which the subjects on which the state legislature can legislate. Concurrent list consists of those subjects on which both the center and state can legislate. But the subject which does not fall in any of these three lists is called residuary subject, and on that the parliament can legislate. That is the meaning of what do we mean to say the residuary powers with the center. Then the manner of appointment of the governor. The governor, who is nominal executive at state government, is not directly elected by the voters. He is nominated, he is appointed by the president, and the nature of powers and functions of the governor, that also we adopted from the Constitution of Canada. Then advisory jurisdiction of Supreme Court under Article 143. The President of India can seek advice from Supreme Court on any matter of fact or law under Article 143. This aspect also we adopted from Canadian Constitution. From Australian Constitution we adopted freedom of trade and commerce. Freedom of trade and commerce and the concept of concurrent list. Just now we discussed concurrent list consists of those subjects on which both center and state can legislate. Then the concept of joint sitting of both the houses of parliament, that also we adopted from Australian Constitution. South African Constitution. Please always remember this is one of the favorite areas for the examiner, especially in prelims. The various sources from which we adopted the various features of our constitution, many times they have been asked in UPSC prelims. Hence, please focus on these features of Indian constitution that we adopted from various constitutions in the world. Then South African Constitution, election of members of Rajya Sabha and the amendment procedure of the Constitution. Both these things we adopted from the Constitution of South Africa. Then from Irish Constitution, the method of election of the president, then the concept of directive principles of state policy and the manner of nomination of members of Rajya Sabha. Here, friends, we have to be very cautious. The manner of election of members of Rajya Sabha we adopted from South African Constitution. But at the same time, the manner of nomination of Rajya Sabha members we adopted from Irish Constitution. So we tend to be confused. UPSC is very shrewd. It is like the world-class bowler, pace bowler Wasim Akram. Wherever the batsman is tend to be confused, that's where he strikes. The same way, UPSC is also like that. Wherever the aspirant is going or tend to be confused, that's where it strikes. So always remember, the election of members of Rajya Sabha from South African Constitution, the manner of nomination of members of Rajya Sabha are from Irish Constitution. Then from Japanese constitution, the concept of procedure established by law. Friends, always remember the judicial review system functions either on the basis of procedure established by law or on the basis of due process of law. When the judicial review system functions on the basis of procedure established by law, it can check whether the procedure mentioned in the constitution is followed or not, but it cannot question the purpose behind the law. For instance, when Telangana was bifurcated from erstwhile United Andhra Pradesh, the last chief minister of erstwhile United Andhra Pradesh, N. Kiran Kumar Reddy, approached Supreme Court and he challenged Telangana Bifurcation Act. The parliament checked whether the procedure of bifurcation of the state that is mentioned in Article 3 of the Constitution was followed or not. But it never questioned the purpose behind the law. So this procedure established by law, we adopted from Japanese Constitution. Thank you, friends. To get 10% discount, please use my promo code, that is capital KIRAN. And if you want to share the PPTs, you can download this link, Telegram link. Thank you. Thanks a lot.